Chapter 21, Cyril Hilbert. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 21. Cyril Hilbert. Despite the shock, Theo still managed to control his clone, having it throw the spear while heading back with the sword. This decision came due to this guy's grasp. Even if he shook him off, there was no way that the brat would leave him alone. What are you doing? You should handle this problem yourself. Do you want to kill me? Even so, the calm was nowhere enough to stop him from complaining. I just wanted to be a man, but then I realized I couldn't kill this guy. Please help me. I will pay you handsomely. This is not about payment. Theo clicked his tongue when he saw the wolf had recovered and leaped at him again. Clone Theo appeared between the two, blocking the wolf's charge. He planned to end this fight in one attack due to a few reasons. First, his stature was like a middle school student, so there was no way he could come here in a normal way. Either he sneaked out or his influence was big enough to deal with the guards. If it was the former, he had enough confidence in throwing this guy off. As for the second, it was nothing but trouble. With that kind of background, there should be a few people protecting him. Even if they were not here right now, they would surely arrive sooner or later. Theo didn't want and couldn't afford to deal with this kind of person. The thought of them watching from afar alone already scared him, as he had no ability yet to clash with them head-on. Secondly, as he said earlier, it wasn't about payment. He couldn't afford to lose his life, so no chance would he play with his life just for money. He had many plans in the future that could bring him money, so risking his life here was nothing but a foolish decision. Last but not least was this guy. He couldn't understand his intention at all. There was no telling that this guy purposely aimed his life or just coincidentally ran to his side. Hence, Theo chose the optimal decision, fleeing as soon as possible. Roar. Luckily, the wolf opened the jaw wider than the previous time, trying to rip clone Theo into pieces. Theo used this chance to pierce his spear through his clone and ended up perforating the wolf's head. Killed a forest wolf, EXP plus 43, the clone disappeared as Theo caught the sword, sheathing it back. Get off me. Theo shook him off. The mysterious trap fell on his butt, looking at Theo with a weird look. You are so cool. Can I call you Big Brother? No, please. I don't want to have a nightmare. Theo snorted, ignoring him. Normally, people would surely consider this guy as a girl because of his cute face, but Theo simply didn't care about gender. Aaliyah could become the strongest in the academy not because she was a woman but due to her strength. You are so cool. Using the illusion to kill the wolf in one hit. I admire you. Instead of paying attention to him, Theo quickly turned around, ready to leap. However, this guy seemed to be faster than he expected. He already clung on his back again before Theo could flee. What are you doing? Theo really wanted to kill this guy, but with all his assumptions about this guy, it was better not to act impulsively no matter how heavy the burden he needed to endure. I haven't paid you. According to my father, a man should fulfill his promise. So. He reached his pocket while saying, I will give you something. Theo remembered what he said earlier. The promise never actually came into his mind, but it turned out that the other party took it seriously. Where did I put it? He tried to search all his pockets before remembering something. Theo's eyebrows twitched as he believed that the guy lost it. This would always happen when he acted like this. On the contrary, the guy's eyes brightened as he slowly reached a palm-sized card inside his shirt. The guy's hand slipped inside from the collar, making it look even more seductive, if it was for someone else. This is it. The guy handed the card to Theo. Skill. Magic Bullet, E, effect. Summon up to 10 magic bullets. Theo widened his eyes, seeing an E-rank skill for the first time. He wanted to take it, but this skill card just proved his claim about this guy's identity. The big influence behind him made Theo hesitate. Ah, Big Brother doesn't want this skill. The guy pouted before remembering one basic courtesy. Oh, is it because I am a stranger? I should introduce myself first. I am Cyril Hilbert. Nice to meet you. Theo still failed to see his intention. This guy was earnest, but somehow, all of it felt wrong. I have a blessing that allows me to find you. I can't really tell you the specific blessing though. I didn't want to die, so I could only ask Big Brother's help. Because I endangered your life, I should compensate you. That's why, please take it, Big Brother. How do you know about my illusion? Theo asked. Since Cyril had yet to know the truth about the fact that his illusion was a clone, he didn't want to give the information away like how Cyril avoided talking about his blessing. It's related to my blessing. Theo thought, should I grab it? I don't know this person even among the riches. Even though Magic Bullet is not a rare skill among E-rank skills, he might recognize me if I use this skill. Still, this guy is small like a middle-schooler, so I think I am safe for the time being. I mean, it's not like he can find me in school. The only possible place he can find me is this haven. I guess I should take it. After contemplating the pros and cons, Theo reached the card, making Cyril even happier. Theo instantly took the card after thinking that Cyril wouldn't let him escape without it, so before his subordinate came, he needed to get the card and escape. When he was about to reach the card, a voice resounded in their ears as Theo instinctively turned around. There you are. He saw Cyril handing Theo a skill card and misunderstood him, thinking that Theo forced Cyril to hand over his possessions. You bastard. As expected, I was too late. Theo gritted his teeth while looking at this middle-aged man. He had spiky yellow hair and wore a black suit. His muscular body already gave him enough information for Theo to know that this punch would severely injure him if not killing him. However, Cyril's instinct seemed to be better and his soft heart moved his body, coming between Theo and the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man widened his eyes, stomped the ground to stop his movement, and shouted. What are you going to raise your hand against me? Cyril glared at him with a cold gaze. No. Then, are you going to raise your hand to the one who saved my life? Saved. The middle-aged frowned and found the wolf's body that was hidden behind the boulder. He didn't see it earlier, resulting in him misunderstanding the whole situation. After seeing the hole in the wolf's head, he finally understood the situation. I apologize. I have misunderstood the situation. Good. Cyril nodded and turned around, forcing the skill card to Theo's hand. I am sorry that the situation has become like this. Theo had no word to say, simply because he had no idea what to say. You. The middle-aged man glared at Theo hatefully. I won't let you get our young master. No. What did you say earlier? Theo's face turned sour, not understanding what this guy said. Did he say it without considering their gender? Anyway, let's go back. Cyril let out a long sigh. That's right. Young master. Why did you suddenly disappear earlier? I was about to kill myself if I found you having injuries to redeem myself. The middle-aged man shouted before grabbing Cyril's waist and carrying him like baggage. Wait a minute. I can walk. Let me go. Cyril struggled to free himself but to no avail. I won't let you go away again, young master. Ugh. Cyril looked down with a sad expression. However, he forced a smile while waving his hand. Brother, let's meet again in the future. Theo couldn't react as everything happened ridiculously fast. What just happened? Theo muttered. Meanwhile, the middle-aged man's expression turned serious as he asked, What are you planning to do, young master? I don't believe you would approach someone like him without reasons. Ah, you found out. Cyril scratched the back of his head. Aaliyah Eilrich is interested in him. You know about my blessing, right? I somehow overheard their conversation earlier, so I chose to give that skill card to him. So, you can narrow down your search. Firil made a big smile. He is a weapon user, but I don't know if he is a vanguard or not after seeing his clone or illusion. In other words, he has enough magic power to use magic. A weapon user who uses magic, especially a magic bullet, is rare. The magic bullet will help me narrow the search by a large margin. Aaliyah might have seen something in him that we haven't seen yet. After all, she is the granddaughter of Nart Eilric, the one who is famous due to his eyes of talent. She inherits his genes after all. I see. No wonder you are so interested in him. But it doesn't mean that I won't report what you did, okay? You will need to find an excuse because Master, your father will surely not accept what you said earlier. Ugh. Chapter 22, Grand Gaia. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 22. Grand Gaia, Magic Bullet. A glowing blue-colored ball appeared on Theo's hand. Its size was slightly bigger than a human head. According to what the skill taught him, he should be able to split them into 10, albeit when he first split it into 2, the ball exploded due to the unstable flow. It turned out that there was another reason why a skill had different grades. Not only their strength increased, but the requirement to master the skill also increased. In the end, he chose to train it later while using this skill to blast the opponent's head like what he was doing right now. The ball flew toward the monster he currently faced, leaving a trail in the form of blue light as if the ball never left and instead released some sort of beam. Without having enough energy, the monster died with half of its head destroyed. As expected from an E-rank skill, the power is extraordinary. Theo shook his head helplessly, knowing why those rich people could become stronger quickly. He thought 4 monsters would be his limit during this expedition, but Magic Bullet just increased his efficiency by 50%. He touched the monster's head, leaving nothing for him to sell. I should go back right now. Killed a Starling Panther. EXP plus 68, level up. Status. Normal level. 24 EXP 13/332 Blessing. God of Mischief skill. Pierce, F, Clone, F, Monkey Fist, F, Magic Bullet, E, 6 slots remaining attributes. Strength 37, Endurance 16, Agility 25, Vitality 16, Magic Power 35 free attribute points. 5 After getting the Magic Bullet and realizing its true worth, Theo had significantly adjusted his attributes to increase the amount of his magic power, so he could continue to fight a bit longer. The result was extraordinary since he could level up 4 times in just one day. Had he gotten the Magic Bullet in the morning, he would have reached level 25. No. I shouldn't be too greedy. Theo shook his head and increased every attribute 1 point. Meeting those 2 was like falling straight down without protective equipment. The time needed was significantly reduced, but it kept me between life and death. Sigh. Theo looked at the orange sky, ready to return. He sheathed the sword and carried the spear on his back as he headed straight to the base. Surprisingly, it didn't take too long before he reached the base. He had carefully memorized the path and went around as soon as he met any monsters. After returning to the base, he quickly sold everything in his possession to a few merchants so that no one could track him. It was a basic deception move but pretty effective. While looking at his bank account, he couldn't contain his grin. ID, 2801049777610 Name. Theodore Griffith Balance. 107,900 ZIL. When I am stronger, I will get more and more every trip. At that time, I will surely hire the best person to find my brother. Theo muttered. As soon as he returned to the other side, he made a few turns where the cameras couldn't find him. He took off his mask and robe, heading home with his true appearance. I am tired, so I won't practice tonight. It's not that I want to slack, but I want to prepare myself to buy a bigger apartment tomorrow, so I can train all I want. He convinced himself that he would go to a housing company to buy an apartment. As soon as he entered his apartment, he had no other to do than take a shower and sleep. The night passed in an instant. Ring. 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 The alarm woke Theo up because the light never illuminated the dark alley he lived in. He let out a groan as he rose from the bed and headed to the school. When he arrived at school, 3 people were missing. Yeah, they were lost, Eric and Shella. The couple had died and the school wouldn't participate in the investigation because everything could happen in the Haven. Unless you had a Big Daddy, no one would search for you, so the secret shouldn't come to light. Even if the Lang family suspected him, he simply needed to play dumb. They might kill him on the other side, albeit everything would be solved with his other identity. He took a seat and saw the teacher coming in with a serious but tired face. All right. I need to bring up an important topic for all of you. This has been in the talk between teachers and the student council for quite a while. To put it simply, our school has been granted the opportunity to participate in a big competition. The teacher explained uninterestedly. May we know what the competition is, teacher? And why do you explain it today? A student raised her hand and asked. The answer came in the form of another question. Do any of you know about the Grand Gaia? Half of the students dropped their jaw, while some seemed to have no idea. Teacher. Is this a new competition that the government created? Another student, who looked unsurprised, asked. Nope. You must haven't read international news, so, unfortunately for me, I need a bit more effort to explain it to you. The teacher sighed, treating it as a chore. Grand Gaia is an international contest where you can compete against international participants. According to the current news, there are a total of 150 countries, including us. We have a chance to participate in this competition. A student covered her mouth as her comment turned the class into an uproar. The teacher slammed the table while glaring at them. If you want to make my life harder, you can go outside right now. You may ask questions, but I don't like to wait until all of you fall silent. The moment they heard it, they quickly closed their mouths, not wanting to offend their teacher. Good. The teacher nodded and continued. First thing you need to know is the team composition. It's a group of 6. Each grade will send 2 participants, so 2 out of 1,000 first-year students will participate. He slammed the table with both fists. Now, let's talk about the details. Chapter 23, Training. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 23. Training. First. There will be a training camp for all of you. This will be joint training for all grades for 6 months to see who will join the competition. The training will be held on the other side, so I can't give you another hint because the instructors will be in charge of everything related to your training. Any questions? The students looked at each other and shook their heads. The teacher then continued. The second thing is the requirements. Normally, you don't need to do this during your first year, but the competition changes everything. The school allows you to join one of the temples. The temples. Are you sure, teacher? Is this a special exception? A student asked. Then a small quiz. Give me all the names of the temples. Vanguard Temple, Magic Temple, and Assassin Temple. Yes. Vanguard Temple is basically the home of weapons. You can buy weapons from swords to guns along with a respective skill for a certain price. The Vanguard Temple will give you an identity according to the job you want. I won't explain the benefit of becoming one of them, so have their staff explain it to you. There are 4 jobs you can get there. Knight, Fighter, Magic Warrior, and Ranger. Have them explain this as well. He paused and looked at the students. Who wants to tell us about the Magic Temple? One of the students raised his hand. Magic Temple is similar to that of Vanguard Temple, but for those who use magic. They have 4 famous jobs. Magician, healer, enchanter, and summoner. Good and short enough. The teacher then turned to another student and pointed at him. You, tell us about the Assassin Temple. Assassin Temple is different from the other two. Their jobs are more specialized, with 3 big occupations: Scout, Assassin, and Illusionist. As the name implies, Scout is focused on looking around the area. The Assassin is to kill the enemy while the group distracts the monster, while Illusionist is similar to a magician, but they are, alright. You stop right now. I don't want to hear the full explanation. The temples can explain it better. The teacher stopped his ambitious answer and moved on from the topic. Anyway, your occupation will also be in consideration for picking the team. After all, it's not like we can choose 6 magicians to participate. Is there a time limit for this, teacher? Yes. The school allows you a day off tomorrow. You must go to the temple and get yourself a job. With the influx of people and the test, I believe you need a whole day to get your license. As for Saturday, there will be another briefing from the principal himself, so make sure to attend. The time and place will be informed at a later date. The training will start next Monday. Any questions? This time, it was Theo who raised his hand. Teacher. What benefit can we get from participating? Theo had so many thoughts about this competition because the announcement was so coincidental. Yesterday, he met Aaliyah. She told him about all this and said to keep it a secret. To think the teacher would announce it the next day, it couldn't help but raise his suspicion. You will gain many benefits if you can participate in this competition. First of all, you will get a certain degree of fame which will help you if you want to get a job in a big family or something. Of course, this competition is one of the most watched competitions, so if you perform well enough, people might fall in love and bring you as their in-law, so yeah, getting huge support for your career and so much more. And there is no way we will allow someone to compete with those geniuses from all over the world without backing you up. The school will provide you with training and skills to make sure you are ready to beat those geniuses. Theo widened his eyes as he thought, the terms are good. Should I seriously aim for this? If I become a participant, the government will surely protect me until the competition ends. As long as I perform well enough, the Lang family can't touch me easily. And I don't think Aaliyah will do something detrimental even if she knows my identity. Besides, I should have saved up enough money to leave the country if things turn worse. Theo contemplated whether to risk his identity was worth the effort or not. He convinced himself with 2 more things. I should be able to set up a few connections when participating in that tournament. Going international means I can get closer to my goal to become the strongest while searching for my brother. Ultimately, he decided to hide his identity for as long as possible during the training as it wouldn't matter too much in the near future. The teacher then continued. And one thing you need to know, you won't be able to return home during the training. The only way to go back home is to give up. The food and shelter will be provided, but don't expect good quality because it's a kind of military rations. Of course, there is no special treatment even if you pay us millions of zills. Any question? Do you know about the training menu? I mean, what kind of training will we face? The training will depend on your jobs. They have specialists that will help you complete your training. So, there won't be a warrior having a magician's training set. Clear? Yes. Thank you for the answer, teacher. The student nodded politely. If you don't have a question, today will be your last class. This opportunity is for all of you, but you can meet me after school if you can't participate. I will be in charge of your study for 1 month, so don't expect me to give you mercy. That's all. The teacher then turned around and left the classroom. As soon as he closed the door, the class turned into an uproar, talking about the training camp. The same thing occurred in all grades, but the 3rd year's excitement was slightly less, considering that Aaliyah already took one of the spots. As for her plan about inviting Sihan and her friend, it was still a secret because she wanted to prove to the others that they were qualified to participate in the tournament. Chapter 24, Job. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 24. Job. After school, Theo had another thought of what he wanted to do. A coffee shop was a good place for solving his thought. The training comes really soon and will take a long time. Right now, I can buy a cheap apartment, but I won't get that much of a space. What I need right now is a larger one where I can train with my clone, so it means I need to go for a more expensive one which can only be acquired by rent right now. His Skylink was already open, searching for the apartments. He skimmed all the information to find a perfect apartment for him. I should rent this one. It has 2 master bedrooms. I can turn one of them to my training room. Besides, the living room is quite big, so it should be enough. It will be perfect if I have a mansion where I can use the garden to train, but that's only a long-term goal for me. He remembered the benefits that the school offered if he was selected. With this kind of benefit, he believed he could reach his goal soon, so he was determined to obtain one of the spots even if Aaliyah knew about his identity. This was a pipe dream before, but to think I can see it now, I should thank the one who granted me this power, the God of Mischief. Theo thought and looked at the ceiling. The God of Mischief is pleased to see your attitude. He shook his head with a smile. Anyway, if I am going to rent an apartment, it's better to only do it after the training. I will be wasting money if I rent it now. In other words, if I can register myself in the temple, I can go to the other side again to increase my strength. After all, there is no way they will choose a weak person for the competition. Unfortunately, he needed to spend a few hours in the school on Saturday because they would announce his group. Hayes, if they announce it on the Skylink network, I won't need to go to school and spend 3 days straight training on the other side, but I guess this is too important. He finished his coffee and left the shop, planning to finish the registration as quickly as possible. Bedodem. He arrived in front of a tall building. Despite calling it a temple, the building was just like any other skyscraper. Not having an interest in admiring the building, he entered. The first room he saw was a giant lobby. With 20 feet high ceiling and limited pillar, the lobby looked spacious despite many people walking around. On his right were lines of chairs where people usually waited. On the opposite side, Theo found a giant billboard where people could link their Skylink to it and searched for a party or mission. He himself didn't understand that much regarding how it all worked, so he planned to test his strength first while understanding the system. He walked straight from the door where 3 receptionists handled all the matters in the guild. Theo simply chose the one who didn't deal with anyone right now. She appeared to be a woman in her mid-20s with her long red hair tied into a ponytail. She wore a black suit that seemed to be the uniform of this temple. Welcome to the Warrior Temple. How can I help you? She politely asked while wearing her warmest smile. I am here to register. May I see your ID? Theo nodded and handed the ID card. I am sorry, but you are 1 year too early to register. If you have special permission, then I can begin processing it. Actually, I am here from the academy. Academy. Oh, I almost forgot. Yes, we have been instructed to register the first-year student from Evergreen Academy. In that case, may I have your school ID to check if you are a student there? The receptionist quickly recovered and asked. Theo nodded and handed her his school ID. She found his picture and matched it with his current appearance. I have confirmed it. Please follow me. The receptionist pressed the green button on her desk, where another receptionist quickly took over her place. Theo nodded and followed her. Excuse me, can I ask a few things? Of course. I will help you as much as I can. I would like to know about the jobs first. What benefit do I get if I have a job? Many parties will have different preferences. For example, there is a party of 1 knight, 2 magicians, 1 scout, and 1 assassin. Usually, they will need a fighter or another knight to fill the last hole in their party, since a party should consist of 6 people. She pointed at the back and continued. If you look at the billboard in the lobby, you will find many groups searching for a member for hunting. They have a requirement for their job and level while stating how long they will stay on the other side and any other information. It will make things easier to get a party. But isn't that too vague? You won't have good coordination with a newly created party. Theo furrowed his eyebrows. Indeed. However, you can see the members' information and their track record, so you can judge whether to go along with them or not. Of course, we hope that you don't easily choose a party, because there are some evil parties that keep preying on the weak just for money or items, so if you want to get a party, you should join with your friend, or at least, look for one that has a good reputation. We can watch each other back that way. Theo nodded in agreement. Exactly. How about the 4 big jobs? Theo asked, contemplating his own choice. Knight is the one taking all the attacks from the enemy. If you say it with a game term, you can consider them as a tank or guardian. The job is fairly simple. As for the second job, fighter, they usually do the most damage to the monsters while the knight holds the monster off. They can also participate as a second knight if necessary. Theo nodded, thinking that he might be suited to fighter. As the name implies, magic warriors are similar to fighters but have the ability to use magic. It's a hard job, but this will show how talented they are. The last one will be the ranger. Yes, it's for the people who use a bow or a gun. She took out her device and opened the form for Theo. So, what is the job you are going to apply for? Theo narrowed his eyes as he had 2 options. Fighter and magic warrior. I choose. Chapter 25, Information. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 25. Information. I choose to be a fighter, Theo answered with a smile. That's right. Can I change my job later? Yes, you can. However, you are required to inform the guild first. The process usually takes 7 workdays, and you can only change your job once a year to prevent people from abusing it. I understand. Theo remembered about his other identity. He hesitated a bit but still asked her. Can I actually hide my name with an alias or something? Yes, you can. Many people use their alias because they feel uncomfortable putting on their real name. However, it also means that we can't give all privileges. For example, if you use a weird name with a random picture, it's hard to trust you other than your track record, right? Understandable. Also, you can get a quest there. From my experience, there are many big families putting one quest after another. In some cases, they choose who they want to let in, so having this mysterious status will put you in a difficult position. In other words, if you are fine with losing so many benefits in exchange for your identity, I can issue it for you. Of course, there is an additional fee. She smiled. I see. This is for a training camp, so I can't really make it mysterious, can't I? Theo scratched the back of his head embarrassedly before recalling he still had another identity. He probably used it when traveling on the other side. Fair enough. The receptionist nodded and asked, do you know about the testing process? I don't. He shook his head. First, we need to record your status and your level, so we can present it on your personal information. Of course, we will keep the exact number a secret. Instead, we will use A to F grades depending on your status. In other words, if you are at a certain level and have a certain point in strength, you will get the grade that symbolizes the allocation points into your strength. Theo agreed with her. True enough. I can't claim to be a mage if I have low magic power, right? Exactly. After recording my status, what is the next process? We are doing a medical check. Up to make sure that your body is fit enough to go. Of course, you need to do it every 6 months. You can either use this place or call the staff to come to your home if you have the machine. Call the staff. Yes. Every hunter will be assigned to one staff. They are usually the ones helping you register, so you can say that I am your assigned staff. I will give you my work number later, so if you need any help, you can just call me. Of course, please limit it to work only. I understand, but you must have a rough time. Theo glanced at her. No, no. Every staff only handles 50 people at max. We have so many staff, so it's not like we have too many jobs. She shook her head. I don't mean to be rude or curse you, but if you are confirmed to be dead, it means I will lose one of my people and force me to go to receive new blood in our temple. In that case, if you have 50 people under you, you will be stationed elsewhere. Yes, but I can't disclose more than this. All right. Thank you for the explanation. Theo nodded while taking all the information in. The third stage will be your track record. We have a system where you can record every single monster you kill to your track record and disclose it according to your jurisdiction. Of course, we will protect people's privacy. Even the government asks it, unless you are an international criminal or something, we won't give it to them. Okay. What's the next step? It's done. Your fighter ID will be issued in a few hours. I see. I will wait then. By the way, this is my ID, you can call me if you need me. She handed him a name card. Sarah Silcox 06104XXX, thank you, Miss Sarah. No need to talk politely. We will be meeting each other every now and then in the future. Besides, I am just 4 years above you. Theo nodded. Then, I will be counting on you, Sarah. Yes. She smiled. They had been walking through the corridor for a few minutes. Even Theo couldn't remember where he came from as this place looked like a labyrinth. At the end of his corridor, a gate gradually opened as if waiting for them. There were 50 people inside the room. Each seemed to be handling someone with their assigned staff. Sarah led him to a person. He was a middle-aged man with white hair. He was busy looking at the screen. Can I ask you for help, Mr. N? Sarah smiled. Oh. A newbie. All right. He nodded and pointed at the round black crystal on the corner of his table. This is the crystal that allows us to see your status and level. Of course, we can only see those two. Blessings and skills won't be registered since it's your trump card. We won't store the information here either. Theo nodded and placed his hand. Level. 24 attributes. Strength 38, Endurance 17, Agility 26, Vitality 17, Magic Power 36, let me process it a bit. He nodded and stretched his hand to Sarah. Can I have his personal information? Here. She handed the form she had been filling until now. Mr. N typed for 2 minutes and gave a small tablet. This is your identity. Name. Theodore Griffith. Level. 24 attributes. Strength B, Endurance D, Agility C, Vitality D, Magic Power C. Health problem. Kill. Please proceed to the medical bay 1.A. I have sent the information there. Sarah nodded. Thank you, Mr. N. Theo also nodded his head to show his thanks as he followed Sarah to the medical bay. The same as the previous one, Theo got a medical check. Up and found no health problem. After that, he went to another room to confirm his track record, but Theo chose to not disclose the information and only wanted them to track what he had done after getting his fighter ID, which was approved by the one in charge there. Theo's reason was simple: he couldn't afford to shock them with a newbie killing a rock turtle, couldn't he? Chapter 26, ID Card. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 26. ID Card. A few hours after the process, Theo, who had been waiting in the lobby, found Sarah walking toward him. On her hand was a small white card. It appeared that he needed to scan it with his device later to access it online, but either way, it wouldn't take too much time. This is your fighter ID. For now, you have no track record and medical issues and can start searching for a group. I have one more question. Is it possible for me to go on a mission alone? Theo asked after contemplating on what he wanted to do during the next 3 days. He planned to level up like a madman, considering that he and his clone were counted as 2 people. There are 3 types of missions that you can take from the billboard. First will be the daily mission. They are there just to get the daily supply for a company or other things. The second type is a commissioned mission. They are the same as daily missions, but this is just for a special occasion where you need to kill a specific monster or grab a certain plant on the other side because someone happens to need it at that time. The third type is a special mission which usually came from a big family. There is no guideline in this. Right now, some missions require a group of 50 and the rest are a normal group or for one person only. In any case, they are hard to predict. So, do I have a possibility to go for a mission alone? Although the answer was obvious, Theo still asked it again since Sarah had yet to answer. He just wanted to confirm it. To be honest, yes. Sarah sighed when she looked at Theo's serious face. There was no way Theo would back down from this. You can go for the first and second types for now. I see. Theo nodded, connected to the billboard, and opened the temple's website, logging in with his new warrior ID to check the missions. There were indeed 2 options like the one Sarah said earlier. Even so, I still need to say this to you. I personally ask you to form a party because it's safer to fight in a group rather than alone. Besides, you can do more things, especially if there are so many monsters. I understand, answered Theo with a calm tone. He just didn't want to get into an argument with his staff right after registering, so he just went along with her concern, even though he had no plan to follow it. Sarah let out a long sigh. She had met so many people like Theo, but most of them ended up dying. Still, she had done her best, so the rest would be up to him. I can't do anything about that. But I would like to ask you to take care of yourself. Even though I often see lives come and go, I would like to support people as long as possible, including you. Thank you for worrying about me. Theo nodded with a smile. I will do my best to stay safe. That's right. Can I grab multiple missions at once? Sarah twitched her eyebrows, wanting to hit Theo. He just said that he would do his best, but he broke that promise in his next question. You can, but you should know that some missions have a time limit, so it's best not to take 2 or more missions at the same time. Then, it means I can still go through the missions and finish them without taking the missions. Only when I return here do I get another mission and quickly confirm that I have finished it. Theo quickly grabbed the loophole he could use to get more money. As long as someone hasn't taken the mission or the one who gave the mission hasn't put it down yet. If it's the former, you can choose to sell the items or anything to them, or I can only say, don't mind, for the latter. Ahaha. Theo scratched the back of his head and nodded. I think I have finished everything here. Thank you for helping me, Sarah. Sure. Glad to be of help. She smiled and bowed politely as she shook his hand. Theo then left the temple, not heading straight to his home. Instead, he went to the magic temple. He met a brown-haired young man that handed him his card. Of course, his profile was him using his mask. A bit creepy, but no one would know it was him. His status was the same other than his name, Joker. This is your magician ID card, Mr. Joker. He smiled. Thank you, George. Theo nodded and took the ID card. Theo didn't show his ID card this time because he already told him that he wanted another identity other than his new one. After arguing for a few minutes, George finally approved his ranking after showing the official letter from the school that he could have the identity. Theo tried hard to make sure that George didn't know anything about him other than his age and status. Even when he took this magic temple ID card, there was only one creepy mask to remember. Luckily, George seemed to be fine after that and treated him politely according to their standard operating procedure. "No, I just did my job." George shook Theo's hand before the latter left the temple since Sarah had answered all his questions. On the way, a thought arose in his mind. Ugh, to think I needed to pay 50,000 zills just for another identity. It's not like I need another ID card or something, no. I do need it for a backup plan. Theo sighed. Albeit, I don't know how effective it will be after the training starts. Either way, better safe than sorry. With that thought in mind, he quietly walked under the moonlight while searching for a mission. After all, no one could access the Skylink on the other side without any signal due to the lack of satellites. As for the reason why Aaliyah could send the money to him, she didn't. It was only registered after Aaliyah returned and got the internet back. But the fact that she sent it there through the most direct way, Aaliyah couldn't cancel the transfer in whatsoever to protect the receiver's right. I think this one is great. Theo smiled when he found a mission that caught his attention. Mission: kill giant toad and get the poison sack card. Level: 24.28 reward. 5,000 zills. Chapter 27, Giant Toad. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 27. Giant Toad. The next day, Friday, had come where most students would register their name in the temple. They should have discussed it with their parents and only came today as instructed. However, Theo didn't have a family, so he could decisively choose to register yesterday. Today became the best opportunity for him to raise his level. Alright. Let's go. I hope I can reach level 30 today. Theo made it look easy, but little did he know that his own leveling speed was far from normal. Not only could he get the full amount of EXP, but his clone allowed him to kill a monster faster by sacrificing itself or doing something in perfect coordination. Theo didn't need to talk it out or plan a strategy because the clone would follow his thought. Usually, a group needed at least a month to understand what each other was going to do and how they were going to achieve it perfectly. However, the clone simply broke the system and became Theo's ultimate partner. If not, Theo would have no confidence in getting to level 28, let alone 30. He opened the map again and moved it to the west, where he found a place named DNR Swamp. Sometimes, he hoped he could buy a vehicle to travel after knowing that this journey alone would take 1 hour on foot. Having no money, he could only endure it for now. As soon as he arrived at the swamp, the Skylink rang, telling him that they reached their destination. He turned off the alarm and raised his vision, finding giant trees every now and then. Next to the trees was a meandering river that flowed smoothly as if there was no steep ground beneath it. His nose was soon filled with a pungent smell that came out of a small hole on the ground. Sulfur. Theo narrowed his eyes, covered his mouth with spare clothes, and put on his mask. The toad is powerful, so I really need to watch out for its tongue. After recounting all of his preparations, he finally stepped forward, entering the swamp. The green twiners covered most of the trunk, but his concern was snakes. In this type of environment, there should be snakes hiding somewhere. Even the information provided by his Skylink told him to watch his surroundings to avoid snakes. He kept advancing for a few minutes before finding a giant toad. Most of its skin was light green except its belly. 10 feet in height made his heart skip a beat because it was almost twice his height. Combined with its giant body, the toad would surely crush all his bones if it happened to fall on him. He summoned his clone and handed the spear. Before the toad could find him, Theo raised his hand. A blue round light formed on top of his palm, shining dimly. He had tried to do this yesterday, but his control was so low that he couldn't even split the light ball into 2 despite 10 being the limit. The magic power fluctuated. When Theo was about to release his magic bullet, he waited for a bit more since the toad seemed to be stronger than him. Magic bullet. The light flew off his hand, leaving a trail as if shooting a laser. The toad noticed it and turned around. It leaped several feet above the ground and saw clone Theo holding his spear. Meanwhile, the real one was hiding behind a tree, planning for an ambush. Croak. The toad's belly bloated up and released a weird sound before the toad opened its giant mouth, launching the long tongue to smash Theo. Using it as an opening, clone Theo leaped to the side and closed the distance between them while the real Theo looked at the ground that just got hit by that tongue. It completely sank 3 inches. Without a doubt, his clone would be done for as long as the toad hit it once. Clone Theo stomped the ground and changed direction, going around the toad until he arrived behind it. However, the toad managed to follow his movement, avoiding exposing its back. The tongue struck forth. Clone Theo raised his spear to stop it for a few seconds. In the meantime, real Theo left his hiding spot and charged from the side before gradually making his way toward the toad's back. He waved his sword, slicing the toad's skin. It was supposed to cut the monster, but he didn't feel it. The toad quickly turned around and found another Theo attacking him. Having no time to waste, Theo retreated a few steps to get a distance before shooting another magic bullet. Surprisingly, the toad swiped the bullet, changing its direction to a tree next to him. The magic bullet exploded after hitting the tree. Croak. Croak. It's time. Theo smiled and summoned another one. The toad must be feeling sick after getting injured on its hand. However, everything changed when he looked at his sword. The sword was covered with a thick sticky green mucus. It was thick enough that he wouldn't be able to cut himself with this on his sword. His clone quickly threw his spear, not far from him. Theo pulled the spear out of the ground while making his way toward the toad. As if receiving his killing intent, the toad's instinct kicked up as he turned around and planned to slap Theo with its other hand. Clone Theo jumped to the toad's head and covered its eyes. Theo smirked and halted his step for a split second to allow the toad to complete its swipe before making his way toward the toad again. He thrust his spear with a little spin. Pierce. Unlike the green skin, there was no mucus in the white belly. Ultimately, Theo's spear pierced the belly before green substances began to flow out of its body. Trusted his spear's quality, Theo took a few steps back before another magic bullet hit the toad's head. With his clone covering its eyes, the magic bullet blasted its head along with the clone before the same green liquid spurted out of the head like rain. Huffed. To think that it is this hard to fight a toad. Theo sighed as he grabbed his spear. As he was about to touch the toad's body, he found another thing, far to his left. He furrowed his eyebrows and opened his mouth in surprise. Chapter 28, Memory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 28. Memory. Meanwhile, at the same location where Shella and Eric died, 5 people appeared. They wore the same tight black suit, covering every part of their body other than their eyes. As soon as they found 2 cracked skeletons, the middle one raised his hand. Investigate the body. The other 4 disappeared. 2 of them began looking for any clue about the skeletons while taking out blood samples from the ground, whereas the other 2 checked the 2 skeletons. With the present technology, they should be able to get enough information from the blood test even if the blood dried up. Next to the tree was a small bracelet with blood smearing on it. It was none other than the skylink that the skeleton had. I have found the skylink. We need to confirm the serial number. The one, who commanded them earlier, took a step forward as he raised his hand, activating the skylink, which happened to be the same bracelet. It projected a blue skin to which the man typed a few things before getting his hand close to the skylink. Suddenly, the screen changed, turning into an ID card. ID, 153419785637. Name. Shella Alberona. Status. Normal. It's confirmed. She is the one we are searching for. The captain nodded before turning to the other skeleton. That means the skeleton belongs to the male. They are the useless couple that the chairman wishes to remove. Still, we can't really get any information with all this evidence. Everything has been eaten, leaving only blood and broken skeletons. There is no artificial wound in the bone, so we don't know what they experienced before dying from a beast. The man presenting the bracelet sighed in defeat. There are only two possibilities. According to young Master Lost, he asked them to follow Theodore Griffith. Assuming that the latter killed them and left them here, he might be more dangerous than we expected. The chairman needs to know this. How about the second possibility? He is not involved at all. A beast killed them when they followed him. Considering Eric Loutre was a level 12 and Shella Alberona was a level 9, it would be tough to fight in this place. They would constantly face level 10.15 monsters. The captain paused for a moment before his tone turned grim. But his subordinates stopped what they were doing, listening to his words. Either way, they were following Theodore Griffith. Calculating the direction and range, his original plan should be the forest beyond the slope where many level 20 monsters reside. This means that our information is not accurate anymore. The subordinates drew a gasp as they quickly checked Theo's level again in their information. He was only a mere trashy level 7. With him going to that place alone, he needed to be at least level 20 if not 25. To think their data was not this accurate. If the chairman knew, he would have punished them. Captain. What should we do? First. From the current information, we can safely assume that he came here during the public holiday, so we had no information about his current position. How about we go to the temples, Captain? The academy allows the first-year students to register themselves in the temples, so he must be there. The captain thought for a moment. The temples, huh? The first-year students are forbidden to register there because the academy wants them to gain enough experience during their first year to make sure they don't regret walking on this path. However, many of them have begun killing the monsters here, so it's also the way for the academy to measure the talented one. This proves the importance of the temples. After contemplating for a while, he gave the confirmation, and the group quickly left the scene. They didn't forget to bring all the samples they could get for identification. Little did they know, someone was watching them this whole time. She was an old lady with long white hair tied into a ponytail. Despite her aged face, it still brimmed with energy as if she had barely reached the threshold of old age. Her silver eyes slightly squinted when she heard their conversation. Temple, huh? She looked down with her right hand supporting her chin. Should I visit the temple or search this place? Never mind. Today is a special day, so I will go to the temple first. She jumped off the tree before she disappeared mid-air. Unlike their predictions, Theo was having a good time after dealing with the poisonous toad and finding another pair. Ho! A pair of toads. Theo furrowed his eyebrows. Before thinking about those two, he looked at what he got first from the first toad. Killed a giant toad. EXP plus 51, he touched the toad's body as it slowly disappeared, leaving not a single card. Such a shame. Theo shook his head helplessly before hearing someone's laughter. Ha ha ha. This is our lucky day. We shall use this pair of toads as the first celebration of our party. Theo furrowed his eyebrows and came closer as he was curious what was going on. He hid his presence while peeking through the gap between bushes. It turned out that while he was rummaging the loot, a group of 3 reached this place and fought the toads. The first one was a red-haired man with a big X scar on his chest, while next to him was a timid-looking boy wearing big round glasses. Behind them was a big muscular guy holding a giant club with spikes on the club's head. I am unlucky today. They might not need my help too. Theo sighed and thought. Let's say they need help and I bust in to help. I might be able to turn around the situation, but is there really that much merit in going that far in this situation? And what if they use that chance to say that I am hoarding all the good things and use it to go against me? His face was distorted when thinking so many bad possibilities and concluded it in one sentence. Seems like a hassle. As he was about to turn around, Theo witnessed one last thing that changed his mind. The person with an X scar on his cheek pushed the glasses young man toward the toad, making his balance unstable. "Go, rookie." The two toads quickly stretched their tongues from two different directions. However, their target was the same, the glasses guy. The first tongue hit his face, destroying his glasses and deforming his face. The second one struck his stomach, blowing him several feet away. Gah! The guy seemed to still have his consciousness and stretched his hand toward the two guys, asking, "Help. Now." Contrary to the guy's expectation, the two ignored him and quickly attacked each toad, leaving a huge mark in their belly. Haha! Using someone as a sacrifice indeed makes everything easier. We can kill this pair of toads in under 3 minutes. Let's go, second brother. Rookie is indeed good since they are easy to be fooled. Yes, first brother. The big guy smiled before looking at the rookie on the ground, still trying his hardest to survive. Before that, the big guy hit the glasses guy's head, crushing his skull. The half-broken glasses flew to the air before landing on the ground smeared with blood. Theo's expression turned cold when everything unraveled before him. This scene reminded him of what would have happened to him after Eric and Shella betrayed him. Chapter 29, World with Only Good People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 29. World with Only Good People. Theo's expression turned cold when everything unraveled before him. After killing the couple, he almost forgot that humans were the most dangerous species in the world. Due to their extreme intelligence compared to other animals, they could do extreme things like this. He couldn't help but recall when the couple betrayed him. Should I kill them? Theo muttered in a low voice. Do I have enough strength to kill them? It's true that I want to destroy humanity, especially people like these two, but I need to make sure that my strength is higher than them or else I will die before fulfilling my goal. Suddenly, a path came into his vision when he saw the toad hit the big guy's right hand with its tongue, knocking the club to the air. This completely made him understand those two's prowess as he decided on what to do. Meanwhile, the small guy shouted. Second brother. Are you all right? Ugh. My hand is broken, but I can still fight. Okay. I will finish soon. He shouted and slashed the toad again, albeit it was too shallow like the first one. Due to the injury, the so-called first brother kept glancing over to check if his brother could handle the toad or not. However, after the third glance, he saw another human approaching his brother with a spear in his hand. Normally, people would think that this person was planning to save him from the frog, but the big brother didn't share the same view. Second brother. Beihai. Before he could finish his words, Theo already pierced the big guy's heart from behind and pulled his spear. Ah! The big guy roared. Blood flowed out of his mouth and wound at the same time as his face turned pale. The man roared as he turned around and charged at Theo. You bastard! What have you done to my brother? I am going to key. Ah! Albeit, before he finished, Theo had pierced the big guy's neck to make sure he died while ignoring the other guy. Why you? When he was about to come out, Theo realized that he didn't have two masks for himself, so he covered his facial features with clothes as a temporary solution. Theo simply smiled when watching this as he glanced over the two toads first before leaping diagonally to where the man is. The man realized why Theo suddenly changed his direction and realized that blood rushed into his head earlier. He glanced at the left side and quickly raised his left hand when the toad was about to stick out its tongue again. A translucent green sphere covered his body as the tongue hit it instead. Unfortunately, the tongue shattered the sphere into pieces. Theo was ready to intercept him and thrust his spear. However, the man seemed to be better than he thought and managed to barely escape death. I am going to kill you. The man spun his body and slashed sideways with his sword started glowing. Unfortunately for him, his luck ran short. He might have gone beyond his expectation, but it was still within Theo's imagination. A blue light fluctuated behind the bushes as it flew toward the man, piercing its body. But at the same time, the reason Theo leaped to the side was so the man and the toad were aligned, thus allowing him to kill the toad right after creating a hole in the man's stomach. "You talk too much," Theo snorted. He finally took one step forward to fulfilling his goal. "It seems that the rumor that Haven is the most dangerous place you can find is true since it's filled with people like you. Humans' true nature, despite being so depraved, are like that of the light. At least some of them," he thought while recalling his past. He realized that his brother must have sacrificed many things to let him alive and his disappearance might be related to the Lang family. "I wonder what will happen if I kill all people like you, so only the people like my brother live in this world." It turned out that the Theo who appeared first was none other than his clone. After killing the man and one toad, clone Theo kept the remaining one busy as the real him sneaked around and struck its belly. Due to the wound that the man gave earlier, the frog had no chance against him and died in one strike. Killed a giant toad. EXP plus 51, killed a giant toad. EXP plus 51, level up. He let out a sigh of relief and unsummoned his clone. "The best way to kill the toad seems to be with my magic bullet. However, I can't waste too much magic power or I won't last too long." Theo took out a pair of gloves in his bag and wore it as he began searching for any possession the two bad guys had. As the guy earlier said, these were their first monsters, so Theo couldn't find any item other than their equipment. However, he didn't know whether they were registered under their name or not, so he decided to look for a card since it was the safest one to bring home. After getting disappointed, Theo searched the body of the glasses guy and found one card. Skill. Wolf's Howl, F, effect. Allows the user to howl like a wolf. Good for gaining attention for various reasons. Theo furrowed his eyebrows and sighed. "I don't need this one. I will just use it to upgrade my clone. With this, I already have 2 spare F rank skills." Nice. Before leaving the glasses guy, he looked down on him with a poker face. "It's not my intention, but I have avenged you. Rest in peace." Theo then walked to the 2 toads and placed his hands on them. Sticky mucus, F, it's so slimy that it almost makes people unable to hold something. It is usually used as a base material for lotions. Surprisingly, each toad dropped the same card, albeit none of them made him happy, considering that he couldn't find what he was searching for. Haze. This will take a lot of time. Well, the information says that the chance is only 5%, so I will need to hunt at least 20 toads to get one. No wonder the mission gives 5,000 zills. Theo checked everything first to make sure he didn't leave any evidence behind. Right. I should buy another pair of disguises for my clone. It's useful to hide from other people. After taking a note of what he needed to do as soon as he reached the base, he continued his journey to complete his mission. Chapter 30, Immature. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 30. Immature, Magic Bullet. Boom. Theo's magic bullet just created a hole in the toad's body. He had been hunting more than 13 toads and leveled up 2 times, but none of them dropped the poison sac he wanted until this one. He placed his hand on its head as a card fell from the disappearing body. Poison sac, F, giant toad's poison sac. The explanation was pretty much it from the card, but if he used his Skylink to identify it, he would be able to get detailed explanations about its usage since the people had researched it in the past. Finally. It's almost lunch already. To think I have hunted the toads for hours. He let out a long sigh and decided to take a breath, finding a safe spot. He had his lunch to rejuvenate himself to fight for the rest of the day. After that, he ended up killing a few more monsters and getting a bit lucky as they dropped 2 skill cards. Having no use for the current situation, Theo stored them in his bag as he had gathered 4 F-rank skills in his bag. To upgrade his clone skill, he needed one more F-rank skill, albeit it seemed to be not possible today. It was already past 4 p.m. and the return journey needed an hour. To avoid getting stuck in the dark, Theo had no choice other than to go home. But a ridiculous thought appeared in Theo's mind. I think I can fight one more time. I've never fought 2 monsters at a time. Should I test it today or just wait? No, I shouldn't waste too much time because I will become more hesitant in the future. I will just fight a pair of toads since I have been killing so many of them today to the point I learned their attack patterns. It should be perfect for today's last fight. This thought came after remembering what happened to the last party he killed. He began wondering whether he had the ability to take on 2 toads simultaneously since he had leveled up 4 times today. Can I do this? Theo muttered in a low voice while looking at the 2 toads staring at each other. From my perspective, I should be able to do it since it's been a pretty easy fight for the whole day even though all of them came only one at a time. He summoned his clone after gaining a bit more confidence but hesitated for one last time when he was about to charge. Still, I was once in a party myself. Every single member boosted the whole party's overall strength by a large amount. He thought for another minute before shaking that thought off. I can escape by sacrificing my clone, so it should be fine. Theo nodded with a solemn expression as he rose from the ground. He made the first move by sending his clone to the front, becoming their target. It's time. Croak. The toads noticed him and turned their giant bodies, facing this person who dared to face them by himself. Their cheeks bloated a little as they both stretched their tongues to kill him like what Theo witnessed a few hours ago. Unlike that glasses guy, Theo stomped the ground and leaped to the left while thrusting his spear with a spin. Pierce. He struck the tongue instead of avoiding it because the tongue coming from the right would miss him either way. Still, as he would expect from a tongue that could crash the soil, the moment he took it head-on, his grip almost slipped off his right hand, forcing the position of his hand to move from the center of the handle to 3 inches away from the blade. At the same time, the spear's butt struck the ground, becoming his foundation for his power. The spear that only managed to graze it finally pierced it. The toad quickly retracted its tongue as if it was scared of that spear and leaped back to gain a distance. Meanwhile, the other one shot out its tongue again to prevent Theo from chasing. Despite people saying that monsters have lower-level intelligence compared to humans, they are still intelligent enough to help their kin. This is new to me. Theo realized that fighting a horde would surely invite such a reaction from multiple creatures at once. Not knowing why, but the story Aaliyah told him lingered in his head. Just thinking about her defeating 50 bats alone already made him respect her a little bit. Of course, it didn't mean he diminished the fact that her blunder almost killed him twice. Theo took another deep breath and charged toward the other toad. At the same time, the real Theo sneaked behind the toad. He knew that the mucus behind the toad would just deflect his sword, so he went around and struck him on his belly while the toad's focus remained in his clone. Due to the continuous fights, he should have used magic bullet here to kill one, but he didn't want to rely on it too much in order to conserve mana. After all, the situation was still under his control, so he wanted to see how far he could go without the magic bullet. The toad that escaped earlier watched how Theo struck his teammate and released its wounded tongue. The tongue missed as Theo jumped up. Once it hit the ground, the toad closed its eyes for a few seconds, feeling the excruciating pain. But his teammate managed to jump back to his side, escaping imminent death. Theo obviously had no plan to release him after his efforts. The clone marched forward as Theo summoned his magic bullet because his plan had failed. This should kill one of the toads and create an opportunity for both Theo and his clone to kill the other. To his surprise, the toad that was supposed to die due to this magic bullet puffed its cheek like a squirrel and spat out round purple mucus. It directly hit his magic bullet, melted it in an instant and continued flying toward his direction. Theo gasped and tried to throw himself to the side, albeit barely succeeded. The small purple ball landed on the ground and dissolved the soil. Theo's sweat dropped. At this moment, he realized that not every plan would go according to his expectation and he should make at least one backup plan, not only at a peaceful time but also in a battle. One failure will be my demise, I should proceed every step with this thought in mind. To think I was and am still this immature. He also lost his focus for a second and the second toad hit his clone, obliterating him. The spear dropped to the ground with Theo, who had yet to stabilize his stance. He looked up and saw the left toad's cheek bloated again as it prepared for another attack. Theo's expression turned grim.